Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying today's conference. We've had some great speakers and more to come. I'm excited to introduce our next speaker, Lindsay O'Connor, Senior Sales Director at Adtaxi. She will be speaking with us on how to leverage the power of video across the college search process. Please join me in welcoming Lindsay.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I know us at Adtaxi are also very excited to be joining you all. Okay, and then Selena, do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay, I think it says you have to stop. Yes. All right.
And I'd like to encourage everyone to please use the chat function to engage with each other during the presentation, and use the Q&A function if any questions arise. We will have a little time at the end for a Q&A session.
Awesome. All right. Well, we will just hop right in. Again, thank you all for joining. So we're just going to talk through how to get ahead with student recruiting. As Selena mentioned, she already introduced me, but just to give you a little more background, I've been in digital marketing since 2010, really when Yahoo kind of broke the mold with behavioral targeting, if any of you remember that. And Adtaxi has been around for quite some time as well. And just to give you background on Adtaxi, we are a full funnel digital marketing agency that really helps businesses of all types to accomplish their business goals. And so with that being said, that whole mindset is really what motivated me and tried to actually bring together this presentation. We did a lot of research online to figure out what the current challenges are, specifically within 2021. And then also looking at our current campaigns, our current clients that are in the higher education space, and just tried to see, where are the similarities? And these were the top 5 that came up. The one challenge that seems everyone was struggling with is trying to hit their enrollment goals. Another one is just motivating prospective students to actually apply and make that leap into higher education and furthering their education. Too much competition. So obviously, as educators, we're all trying to reach out to very similar audiences, and that does lead to a lot of competition for the same audience. Also, one thing I noticed too, and this goes for any business, is the website conversion flow. So, as educators, you have so much information and so many different people to appeal to with your website that sometimes it could get lost as we're looking at prospective students, how to actually get them through your website to make easy conversions. And so that conversion flow is also a really important struggle for people at times. And then finally, I would be remiss not to mention about all of the industry changes due to COVID, right? There's state funding for some people, not for others. Just the way that you're actually going to market with school, right? Some are doing hybrid, some not, some in person. So everything has kind of like changed our world there. And so some of the approaches, thinking about messaging and being really clear on messaging will help with that separating from the pack and really trying to give you a competitive edge. And I'll give you some tips in a minute. Also looking at your website, so really going through that flow. So on the marketing side, pretend you are the prospective student and go through, whether it's organic posts on social media or your search ads or whatever it is that you're doing, be that person who's engaging with you and not knowing who you are, and go and make sure that the website process is very seamless and easy. Another thing that's been really interesting and I think successful for people is engaging with their faculty and students, using them as people to be your best advocates, right? They're living and breathing your culture and what you all have to offer. And so they are probably some of your best advocates that you can utilize to get the word out about what makes you all so unique. Virtual experiences, so I'll tap into that in a little bit on how you can actually bring some of that to light to get people to see your student life and the campus. Financial considerations, again, with COVID, if there's anything, that now is allowed to help students easily attend your school from a financial standpoint, that is a really helpful piece. And then finally, being authentic. With the Gen Z community specifically that we're going after, they are so used to all of this like natural engagement and being authentic yourself is going to resonate the most. So some of the current challenges, oops, I'm sorry, I went wrong. So some of the current trends has been really interesting. So we look at, and this is specifically for 2021 spring enrollment, where the things have kind of adjusted. So public 4-year is down 3.3%. For-profit 4-year schools are up. Private nonprofit 4 years are down. And then primary online institutions, 90% of enrollment exclusively being online is up 7.1%. So these institutions that were already pretty strong in the online capacity, they have been able to grow and really have success over this time. Now we can think, yes, with COVID, that just makes sense. And that could be the case, but thinking about that, this could be a future trend. Selena and I were actually just talking about the dynamics of, working from home now, and this could absolutely play a big factor in how you want to go to market. So as you're trying to communicate all of these things that I just discussed, knowing where people are really wanting to hear from you is also key. And it's important to notice that social media tends to be a very, very big part of how students prefer to interact with you. And so 30% of students you can see have used social media as a gateway to get to the school's website. So again, really look at how your social media pages are not only speaking to students, but then also where are those people going? What pages are you leading them to after they maybe see your posts? And then 74% of students say they remember seeing digital ads from colleges on social media. So that's really important. Again, these stats are pretty high, and you want to be there where the people are and also where it's going to resonate the most. And so I did some research to see, okay, that's great. Social media has a ton of channels. So which channels really make the most sense, and who are using them, or which ones are being used the most? YouTube is by far the top. Instagram and Facebook are in the next few, and then Snapchat. I'm going to stop there. I mean, Twitter, Pandora, Spotify, those are all awesome, but I really, really, really want to hone in on these top 4. So YouTube may be utilized, may not. Again, some of the trends that I have seen within our client base, some use it and some don't. So knowing that that's a top channel used kind of makes me think we should probably start using it a little bit more, and making sure our clients are tapping into that more. Instagram and Facebook are so great because they really span across all the different generations. And I think a lot of people have a really good handle on that. Snapchat, again, from what I see in our base of clients, Snapchat seems to be very much underutilized. And so I like to look at YouTube and Snapchat through the rest of this presentation, just to give you guys some really strong tips and tricks to use within these 2 platforms that I have seen and believe are somewhat underutilized. So when we think about messaging, so yes, you want to talk about your school and you want to talk about what that life is like as a student, but this company called Lead Square did a really interesting poll to see what are important to students, potential students, when they're deciding on a college, or what's making them go to school. And the top 3 were, I want a career where I feel fulfilled, I want to feel that I'm making a difference, and I want to make more money. Those are all awesome, make sense, right? So, but when we're thinking about the messaging and the type of content that we're putting out there, what else could you be saying that kind of helps answer these questions, right? Or helps to kind of paint that picture that you're going to help them achieve a career where they are going to feel fulfilled. The other thing that I wanted to speak about as well is the type of creative. And so video is so huge right now. It's all that people are really talking about. Streaming is so huge. And so video has this really unique component to it, besides just being very popular right now. But from a marketing standpoint, you're able to pull in sight, sound, and motion. And when you can compile those 3 things together, you're able to really pull out emotion from people. And from marketing, again, we know pulling emotion from people is really a chance for us to resonate and also to drive further motivation. So I think video, and again, I'm going to talk a lot about YouTube and Snapchat here, video gets to play and actually pull into this emotion side. Some best practices then to think about from video, again, be authentic. Overly produced content, not necessarily the most type of content that's going to resonate, right? You want to have real people, real perspectives, real voices. Don't be afraid to use what you have. You can use photos, you can use other images that are out there and turn it into a montage. Make sure that the length makes sense depending on the purpose and the platform. I'm going to get into what ones make sense based on, what platform you're using. And then also multiple versions are very, very important. And making sure too, like I had mentioned earlier, outsourcing help from students, faculty, staff, etc., to either give direction or to provide some information for you as far as, from their voice. So some tactics to stand out. So let's talk about Snapchat really quick and the generation that there are. There's actually two levers and two different audiences that we're going to talk about, but I found it's really interesting that 150% of Snapchats are more likely to communicate with pictures over words. So how can, again, you tell all of these stories and do some of that messaging with imagery? Also, they're 4 times more likely, or 4 times more close friends are more influential than celebrities. That's huge. So if we think about it, a lot of people talk about influencers and how can that, be a really strong player in their marketing. Your own students can be those influencers, or try to tap into friends. And I'm going to, again, get into that in a little bit. So 90% of Snapchatters also say that furthering their education or learning a new skill is very important to them. So from a Snapchat standpoint, again, this audience base is very much in the wheelhouse of wanting to grow and develop. I had mentioned they're fueled by their real friends. And so there's some things that we can do to make sure that we're trying to reach out into some of your current students' networks. So let's look at high schoolers and the Gen Z specifically. So over half of US Snapchatters ages 13 to 17 are interested in continuing their education because they place value on earning a degree. That's huge. So half of this audience base has value in going to furthering their education. And from what we've seen so far currently, and this is as of January 2021, less than 20% of Snapchatters in that age group have already enrolled in a new education program. So there's a lot of opportunity within this 13 to 17-year-old base. Now, if we think about the adult learners, especially with COVID, I think is such a great time right now. People are in search of a change. So 46% of the 25 to 34-year-old age group said that they are looking, for that career change, or they want to continue their education in some capacity. So 40% of those are also open to online courses in the next 12 months. And again, this was a survey taken in January 2021. So there's a lot of opportunity for that next older group, right? Not just high school students, for you to be able to tap in and speak to these different students, potential students. And so if we think about, if you're not familiar with Snapchat, again, I'm just kind of going off of some of the research I've done in our current client base, it is still somewhat of an unknown. And so if you're not familiar, totally fine, but just want to give you a little imagery here of what the different ads could look like. So this is a Snap ad. It could take over the full screen and just be a very still image, or it could be a video. So there's also a non-skippable video format as well. Some can be skipped, some can't. Story ads. So again, if you're not familiar, there's a section where you can take pictures, another section where you can get news and updates, and you can basically have different ads within, just kind of flowing in naturally with the different stories. And then lenses and filters are a super fun way to engage people. So I know some schools, like this is Rosetta Stone, right? What languages are you meant to learn today? And you can take a picture of you within this filter and kind of interact with it. So there's a lot of interesting, again, fun ways that you can engage new audiences. Another thing to think about is doing some live streaming. So visually exploring the campus, having somebody, I know I went to Penn State and we would have tours and the person walks backwards and give us this like amazing tour. They're so incredible and impressive. Maybe you could do something like that, but do it via Snapchat. That would be a really interesting way, again, to engage this audience that's there. Or see what a classroom's like. Have a professor take them into their room and share what it would be like to learn from them, this quarter, semester, whatever it is. I think that would be a really interesting tool and tactic. So some tips and tricks to think about when we're looking at Snap. So again, understanding there's a large audience base there, but there's some things that you want to think about, not just the different ad formats that are available. One, installing a Snap Pixel. So Snap Pixel is very easy. It's a JavaScript that can be embedded onto your website. Should not take long to install. And hopefully you have good connections with your IT department. But the Snap Pixel will do a couple of things. One, it's going to help you generate data of people who are on Snapchat, but also have been to your website. So you're able to collect some really interesting information. To start collecting that information, you need a minimum of 1,000 Snapchatters. So you need to obviously be on Snapchat and then have 1,000 of those somewhat engaging with either your content online, either your website or on the ads themselves. The Snap audience match is basically taking, if you have existing lists, so as I was talking about tapping into Snapchatters friends, if you have an existing list, either of prospective students or current students, you can upload that list into Snap and we can match them specifically. So you can either speak to the prospecting CRM list you have, or to any current students that you want to speak to coming back. But from those, from that list, you can create a lookalike audience. So a lookalike audience will basically allow you to expand out. So if you have your current user base and you want to find more people like them, that's where this lookalike audience can be built and utilized. Retargeting is really huge. So you can retarget people who haven't even come to your website, but just engaged with the Snapchat ad themselves. So you can, so if you haven't been able to take them from the Snapchat platform to the site, there's a really cool and interesting way that you can retarget them there. And then just some other tips. Mirror the way Snapchat formatting is. So Snapchat is very short with 5 to 6 second duration for each, storytelling that they have out there just organically. So make sure that you're following that similar, 5 to 6 second duration. And then really, if you're utilizing either the Snap Pixel, the audience match, lookalike audiences, you want to allow yourself 2 to 4 weeks before making any adjustments or optimizations. It's really, really important that there's enough data collected and you're giving the campaigns time to perform and collect enough info to allow you to make smart decisions. So that's just a key piece. I know we struggle with that internally for our different campaigns that we run. We want to make changes and we want to see results right away, but you really need to make sure there's enough data to do so. And now I'm going to talk a little bit more about YouTube. So YouTube has most recently come out with something very, very interesting. So in case you didn't know, Google owns YouTube. And the beauty of that is that Google has a lot of information because we go to Google. We also use Bing quite a bit, but Google specifically to do searches, right? If I'm looking for a school, I'm looking to maybe get my master's, I go to Google first to see what programs are out there and available. So what's really interesting is that you compare the two together and they can work really, really nicely. And advertisers, this data that we found, campaigns that ran search and YouTube together saw an 8% higher search conversion. They also saw a lower search CPA. So that's awesome, right? More conversions at a lower cost. Sounds kind of good to me. So some different tools and things that are, again, more recent and something that it'd be very, very great to utilize. Again, I'm making the assumption that you use search to some capacity because it is a pretty important foundational piece within digital marketing. But you can see, you can run 10 to 15 keywords within the keyword planner. So if you're running a search campaign, there's a keyword planner that you can run, pick 10 to 15, and you can see how many people and what that potential reach would be on YouTube. So again, if you're running a search campaign, you're probably going after people looking for, maybe specific degrees or just colleges and universities in certain towns or around me, right? Those are the normal keywords. So you can put those in and get a sense of how many people can you also then reach on YouTube who have been searching for those words. So that's a pretty solid lead right there for somebody who is searching for your products and services. on Google, and I've also been on YouTube. So you can make those connections very, very easily. And one thing that Google has found is that people often switch between online search and video while researching for products to buy. So finding these high performing keywords, again, with the keyword planner, will also help you be very, very effective on YouTube. Another custom audience capability is adaptive keywords. So this basically, you just take 3 to 5 keywords and that you think are a general theme of whoever it is that you're trying to reach. Again, colleges near me, master's degrees, whatever, just the basics. And Google will come up with a list that they think, hey, you know what, here are some other keywords we want to consider, or here are the people that would also be a fit based on these 3 to 5 keywords, right? They just fit that general theme. And so that's a really interesting way for you to expand out and go a little bit further than maybe something that you would have already thought of, right? I think this is interesting because it just kind of takes you out of the normal or whatever you're currently doing with your search campaign. In-market audiences. So again, Google owns a lot. They own search, they own YouTube, anybody who's using Android phones, there's all of this different data sets that they have available to them that allows them to create these in-market audiences. And so basically anybody who's been actively researching for higher education schools, intending to, try to get a degree in some sort, they can fall into this in-market bucket that you can tap into. And again, serve them a video ad on YouTube. So there's just a really great way for you to really hone in on these specific audiences. And then the last one is customer match. So this is leveraging first-party data. So similarly, like I had talked about in Snapchat, you can actually take a CRM list and find people either similar, or you can go after those specific people. So prospects, as we know, you might already have a list of those prospects. You might have, some people who have registered or come to an open house last fall, and now you want to re-engage them. This is a great way to reach out and then show them a really strong, powerful video message to engage them into coming back. So that's the customer match. And then again, you can find similar audiences. So we can say, all right, here are the people that engage with us. Typically, please go find more like them, YouTube, and YouTube can do some, again, using the power of search. So some of the ad formats that YouTube has recently come out with and are really, really good because they are specifically for driving action. So yes, we want to have the video tell our story and be great for us, but we also want to get something out of it, right? We want to drive some conversions as well. And so the first one is to drive site conversions specifically. So when we look at this shark example, there's this shop now button. Obviously with schools, it would be show a video of the school and you could say learn now, or if it's a video of an open house that you're coming up with, it could be book now, right? So there's all these different things that you can use, but the point is it's driving a specific action. The other piece is acquiring leads. So again, this could be prospective students. As you can see with Geico, let's say I want to learn more, a drop down will pop down and you can either click send me more info and it will just, you put your email in and get more information that way. And if you have Google, it'll pre-populate your name and email right in there, making it very easy for people to engage with you. So then being able to measure impact, YouTube has some really interesting ways that we can see how the campaign is actually performing. So if you're running YouTube, whether this is on, so YouTube has the ability to run on connected TV devices, as well as computer screens, on mobile devices. So anywhere somebody's watching YouTube and they have access to your phone, these people can be tracked. So one of the ways for conversions to be measured is if a viewer clicked right on the video. So if I was on my mobile device, I got an ad for your school, I can click on it and go right to your website. Another way is if I choose to watch it, but then I go to your website directly, right? So I'm not necessarily clicking, I'm watching the video, I got inspired and I get to your website a different way. Another one is that It's called a view through conversion, so that again, a viewer sees the ad impression and in 3 days time comes and clicks on or goes to your website in some capacity. That's considered a view through. And so it's really interesting that there are these different ways that we can measure success, right? Yes, it's successful if they see the video and they start to get a feel that branding and awareness happens, but obviously getting them to your website is equally, if not more important. So some tips and tricks for YouTube. Allowing YouTube and your search campaign to support and optimize each other. So as I had mentioned, you can use some of the search keywords that are already working really well for you to put in to either create any of those custom audiences that I described. And vice versa, then after your YouTube campaign is running, you can see, maybe you need to think about something else or change up what you're doing on the search side. Using the targets based on the goals that you're trying to accomplish. So the 2 custom audiences, whether it's adaptive or keyword, they pretty much span the funnel. So custom audiences using that tactic can be good for awareness, for consideration, and for action. In-market audiences, those are the audiences that Google has said, hey, these people have recently been searching for schools or degrees of some sort. Those are really good for the consideration phase, that middle funnel. And then customer match, again, those are people, either they are a prospective list of your own or you're doing the lookalike. Those are really great for driving actions. And then making sure that you're also utilizing the action-based ad formats. Those have been really, really successful for people. And again, I think just from a convenience standpoint, people are really enjoying the ease in which those ads provide getting access to somebody's website. And then just like Snapchat, as I had mentioned, you want to revisit the campaign every 2 to 4 weeks just to see how it's going and if you want to make any optimizations or changes. But I know Google specifically always recommends any changes, let it run for 2 weeks minimum, because again, there's just not enough data for you to make any smart decisions. Okay, and then finally, out of all of this, and I didn't mention this earlier, but at Adtaxi, we were very, very fans of a full funnel approach, right? So making sure that you're reaching people in multiple ways using multiple products, not just a YouTube or Snapchat. You really need to be having that omni-channel approach, if you will. And so I think I want to kind of point out that that's a really good strategy, specifically when it comes to retargeting. So retargeting most times will drive the majority of our conversions. So yes, you want to build people in right from prospecting, and you can use the 2 things I covered for prospecting and bringing new audiences in, but you want to be really smart with your retargeting strategies, because that is most likely what's going to drive those final conversions. And again, retargeting can be on Snap, you can retarget on YouTube as well, but you can also retarget on connected TV, on just regular display ads, retarget on Facebook, Instagram, all of those other social channels that we talked about earlier. But some other key things to think about when you're utilizing retargeting is ensuring that your message really fits with wherever the person has last left. So for instance, if I'm just on your homepage watching a virtual tour, you want to make sure you retarget me with a message that kind of speaks to the virtual tour that I just watched. Let's say I go to a degree page. You want to ensure that the ad that you're following up with speaks directly to the degree that I viewed. Okay, so making it more personal versus just a generic, here's this, here's my college and whatever. You want to be very, very tactical about the messaging on where they have last left. And that will really help kind of nurture them along and bring them back and be more relevant. So some last points to kind of go over is just making sure that you're leveraging best practices across those highly used social media platforms. Again, YouTube, huge. There's just such a large audience there for you to tap into, and then pulling in those different new custom audiences and leveraging those pieces are really, really key. Also, CRM data is going to be extremely helpful. And so if you don't currently have CRM data to work with, it's going to be really important that that's kind of a mission of yours, going into the future, especially with some of this cookieless future that's coming our way, having your own first party data is going to be really, really key for you to continue to reach and message a specific relevant audience. Also, tap into your current on-campus influencers. Talk to your professors, look at the different student ambassadors that are out there that can really help speak to who you are and what it's like to be a part of your organization. And then finally, as I had mentioned before, follow up with omni-channel retargeting. Make sure that you're retargeting really smartly with your messaging and being very personal based on where that person was on your site, and do it across multiple channels, not just some of the pieces that you're using from a prospecting standpoint. So that is all I have, and I thank you guys so much. Again, it's really important for us to provide you some information that you could take away and make actionable immediately. If they have any additional questions, I have a team from Adtaxi. They are here to communicate with you all and engage in any type, and always reach out to me myself if you need anything. So I will stop there.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I do have some questions that came through in the Q&A. If you have a moment to answer maybe a couple of those. Let me take a look here. So we have, well, one just came in from Evelyn, and she asks if you have a CRM platform or platforms that you recommend.
I don't have a CRM platform to recommend for colleges and universities specifically. There actually might be some vendors here. So Selena, I don't know if you know, but I'm sure there are some really great education specific CRM vendors that you could reach out to at this event. So Selena, I don't know if there's any you want to point them to, but.
Yeah, I would just encourage them to, on the platform, visit all of the different vendor booths and get their information. They may have recommendations. They themselves may have a solution. So yeah, check out the booths and engage with our sponsors.
Oh, I see somebody wrote Slate, and yes, I think I've heard that one. Again, I don't know. We use Salesforce for us here at Adtaxi, so yeah.
Christine came in and asked, what recommendations do you have for creating experiential videos that are still relevant to online students?
That's a good question. So I would say, maybe showing, and I'm not sure how you're executing your online, but if there is a breakout room, or you're having some sort of group project, have some students video them having a chat, kind of like Selena and I, or showing engagement with a professor and another student. I would say showing as much as you can that you can work virtually, but still be very much connected. And so again, just trying to video something like this, like we're obviously recording this session right now. And so that could be a really interesting way to go about visualizing it.
And we had a lot of questions come in actually about Snapchat. So
awesome.
Someone asked, do you see Snapchat as more of a prevalent tactic for undergrad versus grad programs?
Yeah, honestly, so kind of what I pointed out, there's a strong user base both within the undergrad and graduate programs. So I know I threw out a lot of stats at you also. I apologize for that, but I was trying to kind of articulate that there are very much the 25 to 35-year-olds are one of the largest groups, and then the 13 to 17 as well. I know there's 19 million users in the 13 to 17, and I think it's around 30 million within that 25 to 35. So there's a good amount of people. So no, I just think, again, the messaging needs to be a little bit different, how you're appealing to the different audiences.
And another Snapchat question. Are there concerns with Snapchat being more of a peer-to-peer channel, or is that a more dated view of Snapchat?
I think that's a little more dated. And I would say, just again, and we see it ourselves. We talk about Snapchat quite a bit to our different clients, and yeah, they haven't necessarily fully thought like, yes, this could work, but anybody who's done it specifically with education has seen success and conversions. So yeah, it's definitely not peer-to-peer. But again, understanding that people are more likely to be influenced by their friends than they are a celebrity or something along those lines. So how can you tap into that thought process of peer-to-peer, right? And use it from an ad standpoint. So that's where I was talking about messaging. Utilize some of your best students or ambassadors to help go to market, right, with what you have going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of related, I was not surprised to see this one come up. Somebody asked, in top social platforms, TikTok was not one of the most used by teens.
Yeah, good question. I'm shocked. This was from, I pulled a research thing. It's called Statistica. And I could even send you guys, if you want to look, I could send a link to where I pulled that information. I don't know why it wasn't on. I don't know, but I do think TikTok is good. I don't think it's one to not be looking at. At Adtaxi, we don't specifically utilize TikTok, so I think it was kind of good for me because I wouldn't speak to it at this point anyway. But yes, TikTok is strong. I think Snap has been around a little bit longer. So if we're just kind of thinking about this from a marketing standpoint, how mature it is for you to utilize for marketing and ads, it's probably a little more sophisticated right now. Don't hold me to that, but just from what I've seen, again, I've been in digital for a while and these new guys come out and it's exciting, but they don't have all the business things figured out quite yet. Again, I don't know that to be true about TikTok, so I apologize.
Yeah,
TikTok in advance.
I think that they're up and coming. So
Yeah.
I was surprised that it didn't show up, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I do think it's an up and coming platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, oh, I just had one come in. Okay. Mohammed asked, do you think that leveraging Snapchat is better from people like students or universities by having an account for itself or its colleges?
So both would be good, but I think your school needs to have it. If you want to manage it from a marketing standpoint, yes, like that's great. You want people to be speaking on your behalf, but you want the school to be controlling from a marketing standpoint, right? What's going out to the prospective students. So again, pull in those students, you help design that messaging, you use them, and then put it out there. Or there are some really cool things. It's like social listening. I know we just talked to Sprout Social for Adtaxi, and they have this like really cool tool for social listening. So you can see when people are like talking about you, or if you come up, or whatever. And so maybe you can see, all right, has a student just recently talked about how much they love the school, or what are they saying? And you can kind of maybe tag yourself in it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I would try to interview the students on your own and use it from a house account.
And then to end on just one last more general question, we had an attendee ask, how have you gone about getting faculty and staff to buy into your campaigns, your brand, etc.?
Buy into Adtaxi's brand or buy into the school? I'm sorry,
I think the question is regarding like ways to get faculty and staff to buy into the provider, the different like so Adtaxi.
Like yeah. So I think, I mean, where we've come in, obviously people who work with us, they're bought in from the marketing standpoint. So I would just say showing how it's going to help the faculty and staff continue to grow and develop. I mean, it's a business to a certain extent. You need students, right, for you to be able to teach and to be a part of the organization. And so I would say just show how it's going to help them and help their career by engaging with people in different ways.
Yeah, I think that is a great answer. And I think that gets at exactly what they were asking.
Perfect.
And that is all I have for Q&A. So thank you, Lindsay, for that great presentation.
Absolutely.
Thank you everyone for engaging in the chat. We will take a little break now, so please head over to the platform and head over to the Adtaxi booth. You can have a chat with them there about best practices using video. And we'll see you back here at 1:15 p.m. Central Time for our next speaker. Thank you
Thank you
again,
so
Lindsay.
much. Yeah, thank you. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.